Hi, everyone. This is Eric Molin with Impact Presenting's podcast, episode 6. Today, I'll be speaking with Bonnie Auslander, who's a university instructor for public speaking at American University and University of Colorado in Boulder, as well as a storytelling mentor for a Boulder startup incubator and community. Today, she's going to tell us a bit about a very original technique she uses in the classroom to help people who have severe speaking anxiety. Hi, Bonnie. Great that you could join today. How are you?
Wonderful, Eric. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So you're in Boulder, Colorado right now. Is that right?
Yes, in sunny Boulder, where we have 300 days of sunshine a year. Not trying to rub that in or anything, just saying it's a fact.
Well, I'm in very cold Vienna right now. So yeah, we don't have any sunshine.
Yeah, you have better Christmas cookies, though, than we have in Boulder. So there's the upside.
Yes, definitely. Better coffee, too. So, Bonnie, I got to know about you actually from a news clip that I saw, and it was really interesting. And so, before we get too much into it, maybe you could just tell me a little bit, or tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do. And
yes. Gladly, yes. I've been a writer and a speech coach for many years, and I've mostly worked in universities and business school programs. And I have a foot in American University in Washington, D.C., and then I'm also at Boulder, University of Colorado, also in both cases in the business school.
Okay. So you're working with, basically the people coming through your class, they're presenting on business topics.
That's right. So it's a lot of speeches and presentations, often with slides, but sometimes not. I'm also involved in the startup community. Boulder has a huge startup community. I'm a storytelling mentor for Boomtown, which is one of those startup accelerators.
So time to time, I also work with other trainers. I'll have them help as a co-trainer on larger projects. And you also have a group of co-trainers, but quite different than mine. So tell us a little bit about your coworkers.
Yes, I do have a small group of dogs that I use. We call them audience dogs, and they come in all sizes and shapes. Some are purebred, some are not, and all are chosen for their sunny dispositions and their willingness to listen. We started this program because we realized there were students with anxiety, public speaking anxiety, that our normal approaches weren't really helping. Mm-hmm. And also, I just thought it would be really fun to have an excuse to bring dogs on campus. Frankly, I'm always, kind of thrilled and appalled when they have, I don't know if they do this in Vienna, but it's very common in U.S. universities around exam time, midterms and finals, for the local therapy dog chapters to show up with a couple of nice, big, mellow dogs. And they usually pick a room. And the dogs are surrounded by 20 students each petting them. So that's what gave me the idea. We thought it would be so fun to let people practice with an animal. And I can tell you more about it if you'd like, how that whole thing.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Absolutely fascinating, because I work with people who have, there's a percentage, maybe let's say 10% of the people who come through my class do not just have speaking fear, but it's really crippling. And a lot of it radiates from the human members of the audience to whom they're practicing. And so I thought, having a dog, well, they're just listening. They're not judging you. They're not criticizing you. They're not being critical of you.
Yes. And I think so many of us need the chance to practice many, many times. We don't want feedback. Feedback is useful later. Tell me one thing I could improve. Tell me a change I could make to the beginning to make it stronger. But for many people, like you said, I think it's about 10%. They just need the chance to practice, but when they're by themselves practicing, they're not really practicing. I don't know if you've noticed this, Eric, but they don't do a good job, and you think, you say to them gently,
Yeah, of another living being, that you're trying to reach out to and get your story out to, definitely.
Yes, that's it. And so, of course, dogs, the ultimate in non-judgmental, clearly. So, trained, of course, over centuries of evolution to really care about other humans. Not all dogs. There are some dogs who really only have, love only one owner, and that those don't work well in our program. But we just kind of have we like to say we've sourced them locally, and we find really amiable, cheery dogs, and then we pair them with sometimes we even let the students look at photos first. like which dog would you most like? And if the schedules work out, then you can practice with that dog.
So there's not actually a special set of, there's not actually a special training that you need. There's a certain set of personality characteristics in the dog that you're looking for. And with those, then it's absolutely fine, just to speak to them as an audience member.
That's right. No real training, as long as they, of course, obviously they have to be good dogs who don't bite and who know how to behave indoors. But that's right. It's really more the personality, and often the owners. I usually would meet the owners while they're walking their dogs on campus, and I would just engage them in conversation because I want to pet the dog anyway. And then, pretty quickly they often, once I describe the program, they're often quite excited, if the schedules work, and the dogs, of course, like it. We did we tried, we're a university, so we tried to be a little bit formal about it. And we did do some pre and post, just self-administered tests of speech apprehension. And we found people's speech apprehension generally dropped quite a bit. I have to admit, initially, I want to say between us, but I hope that there's more than just us. But between us, I really kind of started as a little bit of a joke. I just thought it was such a funny idea. And I came up with all these, sort of funny taglines and a little marketing campaign and everything. But somewhat to my own shock, it really did work. And I had students come in who had were crippled with anxiety at the idea of presenting in class. And they presented a couple times to the dog. And then one of them, I remember, said to me, "You know what? I think I'm fine. I'm going to just do this tomorrow." And she did. The teacher came back. The professor came back. It was not my student, and said, "Wow, she did a perfectly fine job." And I think for her, it was a big hurdle. I had another student with who was an actor. He's the one in the video. And that was so funny because he's so comfortable on the stage, but he wanted to give a speech and he was super anxious about it. And working with the dogs, he was able to overcome that, and then was chosen as commencement speaker in a rather rigorous competition. So it was really, a lot of successes actually working with this program and the doggies.
That is amazing. And so, from your perspective, do you see this growing? Do you see this as something that's becoming more and more normal? Because I know that it's tricky, not everybody likes dogs. And if you're in a class, there could be people that they could be even allergic. There's going to be a lot of challenges with that. So how do you see it going?
Well, I think the model of a center works better than a classroom model. So if you have some kind of writing center, speaking center, writer studio, speaker studio, then they can make appointments, and it's not really about the course. And yes, I think it's important to respect that not everyone likes dogs and there are people with allergies. So it is a little bit of red tape to get a dog on campus, but the therapy dogs are allowed on campus. So at American, we went through a process of getting them their own little blankets, which was really adorable, the little audience dog blanket that the dogs would wear. And then they were allowed to come into the building at certain times and be a good audience. So I think there's room for it to grow. I think it's, well, anyway, when I talk about it, students are just enraptured. They just love the idea because there are a lot of dog lovers out there. So I would say
there are definitely.
Yeah.
We love dogs over here as well. And I'm wondering, so you've been mostly working with university students, business school students. Have you had any, for example, non-students, so like business people getting coaching that have tried this? Have you taken it up to that level yet?
I haven't. I've offered it, and I have had a lot of interest, but nobody has actually taken the next step of asking for an actual appointment. So I think that's the next step. Yes.
Great. Wow. So I know you're really busy. I appreciate you taking some time to talk with me, and we'll get that out there. And looking forward to actually getting to meet some of your dogs sometime the next time I'm over in Colorado.
Oh, that would be great. It would be great to sort of give you the tour of the dogs and see which one you think you might want to just practice your most recent presentation with. I did have students. I forgot to mention. I did have students.
New material with them before I take it.
Yes, exactly. I had students who actually didn't have anxiety but pretended to have anxiety because they wanted time with the dog. So there are all sorts of ranges of possible. But thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to talk to you today.
Likewise.